So if you can't find a seat, there are a few empty ones up here. So feel free to come on closer to the front if you want. Thanks for coming. My name's Steve Marks. You may remember me as the Hello World guy with the stupid shoes. I'm wearing normal shoes today. I'm here just to introduce a couple other guys. So this is our opportunity to kind of showcase some of the customers who've been building on top of Windows Azure and have already been working on this stuff for a few months. So a bit of ahead of the game. And they actually have some really interesting apps that I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy. So I have with me today Danny Kim from Full Armor and Gent Hito from /N Software. Do you say /N or just N? N Software. And they're both going to be showing you what they've built on top of Windows Azure. So with that, let me just turn things over to Danny.
Great, thank you. I'm actually not going to go over too many slides. I'm not a big proponent of slides. But one thing that's important is the fact that a lot of stuff that we've been doing for the past 20 years is really servicing corporate IT. So we've had endpoint management solutions that allowed you to manage endpoints within the corporate IT environment. And a lot of the feedback we've gotten from these large customers is, gosh, we'd love to have better endpoint management for remote endpoints. So one of the things that we started looking at was the ability to manage endpoints from a remote scenario. And that's kind of where we actually created a technology called Policy Portal about 3 years ago. And one of the things that we really liked about the Windows, is it Azure or Azure? Azure. So one of the things we want to get that right. So one of the things that we loved about the Windows Azure environment is the fact that we could actually take all of this hosted service that we used to actually host on our servers locally within the corporate IT environment. We actually did our own hosting for a while, where we hosted it to manage children's hospitals and whatnot. We can now throw it up in the cloud. And we started working with Steve, I think, back in May. So I haven't known Steve that long, and it's been an interesting road to work with these guys. Actually, they've been extremely flexible and cooperative, and we've been very happy with the development environment that we've actually had to develop in. And one of the things that's interesting with Policy Portal is we've actually, within about a month and a half, we were able to take our .NET-based application that was actually running in a hosted or on-premise environment and port it over to actually run in a Windows Azure services-based environment. So one of the things that we did with Policy Portal is take the application or functionality of Policy Portal, allow ourselves to deploy security patches, antivirus patches, secure documents. We actually integrated it with SoftGrid, which is now called AppV. So we can actually host a virtual application in the cloud and actually deliver it down to endpoints without needing a server in the end. So you can actually have an application, package it up, deliver it to an endpoint, whether it's in LA or whether it's in Ethiopia, and then have it actually run in a virtual environment. And why that's important is, especially in a scenario where one of our customers is the government of Ethiopia, they have a ton of endpoints that they want to manage. Their end goal is to deploy a laptop to every teacher in Ethiopia. And that's up to 250,000 endpoints. Whenever you think about a number of that size, now any problems that you face at the endpoint is compounded. So one of the things that we're deploying to the Ethiopian government is a custom app that does curriculum tracking, that does attendance, and their end goal, the government's end goal, is to actually upgrade the education system of their country so that they can actually fight poverty, fight literacy, and whatnot. One of the problems with that type of system without a cloud-based system is, one, you either have to build out a huge data center, or if you have applications that you're deploying, what happens when you have version 2 or version 2.5 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8? What are you going to do? You can't actually go and visit every teacher and potentially upgrade their apps locally. It has to be all done remotely. It has to be all done seamlessly. And that's kind of the reasons why we integrated with AppV as well. And then being able to get compliance reports back. You'll see in the demo, we actually have, in addition to inventory data that we get back from the endpoints, we actually get GPS information. So we'll actually locate the GPS coordinates. If they don't have a GPS GPS chip, one of the things that we are looking at doing is actually creating a mapping of their Wi-Fi and network within Ethiopia and mapping it to the relative coordinates. So you can actually see in a map kind of all the endpoints that they have, and you can see where they're roaming, where they are, and click on a physical or geographical location for an endpoint and find out what apps they have and what data elements they have. And I think that's pretty much it for my slides. See, very, very simple. So what I'm going to do is switch over to my laptop here, and see. And Steve was telling me, he was making fun of me, which is rightfully so. I'm going to actually show you a video of myself. So I'm going to actually play the video and then step off the stage, and you should be all set. The reason why I want to play this video, if you haven't seen it already, this is a video that was funded by Microsoft. We actually went to Ethiopia. I actually took a camera, did a lot of the filming in Ethiopia, of their data center, of the actual infrastructure in their environment, and the folks involved in the government offices. And it'll give you a good sense of kind of what the challenges were for the government and how the Windows Azure environment with Policy Portal provides that solution. Full Armor is in the business of doing endpoint management. The government in Ethiopia was looking at upgrading the education quality of their teachers within the country of Ethiopia. One of the things that they wanted to do was not only connect all the teachers together, but be able to train them so that they have a consistent way of delivering education. And they wanted to do that in conjunction with training and use of technology. They'd actually contacted SQLsoft for the training aspect of that, and we got involved with the Ethiopian government to help them with the technology aspect in managing the teachers' laptops. The project initially was started around 30,000 laptops. End goal is to do 250,000 laptops to every teacher in Ethiopia. The challenges that the Ethiopian government faced was the lack of infrastructure. Their data centers were not equipped to handle, 250,000 teachers, let alone maybe even the 100 or 200 employees in their government offices. Full Armor's Policy Portal solution was developed on top of Microsoft's cloud platform. What Policy Portal provides is the ability to not only distribute applications down to these virtual endpoints through the cloud, but also deploy security policies, get status information and inventory and compliance back, and also grab information from the custom applications that we're developing for the teachers. One of the neat things that Microsoft had provided with us is early access to Windows 7 that allowed us to utilize some of the latest technology that's coming out, such as GPS and multi-touch technologies that we've actually integrated into Policy Portal. So we can actually push a document down and have that document only open in a certain location or a certain building within Ethiopia, within the teacher's school. The real value with this solution is that this is not a one-off, but one of the things that we wanted to do was create a model that can be replicated to multiple emerging markets. Microsoft is our biggest partner in this, in the sense that they provided us the infrastructure, the cloud-based technology that our product runs on top of. Without that, this project would be impossible to do. One of the things that it provides us is our ability to scale this application from 10 users to 500,000 users without a blink of an eye. And that really is what made the difference here. It was quite interesting doing the development work for this cloud platform. The fact that Microsoft created the development environment for the cloud platform to use the same tools, Visual Studio Environment, .NET, ASP.NET, it really made the transition very seamless and easy. And we ourselves were quite shocked at how quickly we were able to develop and get a service up and running. Being able to work with great new technology in itself, because I'm kind of a technology geek myself, gets me excited. But being able to then marry that with a social cause that really you can see firsthand the benefits that they're getting immediately, literally within a month time frame, it's just been phenomenal. Okay. So what I want to do is give you a quick demo of the actual product. and maybe a little bit more of the inner workings than what the video would have shown. Let me go ahead and log in. I actually requested a private build so that I don't. We actually went live with initially with 20 teachers, and we're actually up to about 150. So if I actually went to the live environment and start deploying packages, they'll actually get these packages down to them, and they'll be wondering what's happening. So I actually asked for a private build to do this demo. One of the things that we did was we actually did put some GPS tracking information on some of the teachers just from a demonstration standpoint. And what you see here is I can actually go through, and this is Addis Ababa, if you're not familiar with Ethiopia. That's the capital of Ethiopia. We also I actually stayed somewhere here in the Sheraton, which is the only place where you can actually get an ATM with money. So their infrastructure is very low end, very minimal. One of the things that we're able to do is click on any of the laptops that we've got deployed, and you can actually start seeing inventory information. We've actually just begun to take information back and send it back up to the cloud. What we're doing is this is actually running on the Windows Azure environment, and we're using their blob storage to store applications, group policies that we want to download. We're using their table to actually store information about their inventory and some of the metadata about the blobs. So there's a ton of stuff that we're using that's just essentially scalable for us. And so when we first did the deployment to 20 to 150 teachers, they loved it. We saw that the technology worked, and we had it in the proving point. And then, their end goal was, hey, now let's flip the switch and let's do 5,000 at a time. And so we just did some performance testing and found out that we can actually start deploying this without actually changing the infrastructure or limiting the application in itself. So what I want to do is, in the limited time that I have, let's see how much we can do. I'm going to actually upload a package. Let's upload a document. Let's just say it's a secure document. And I'm going to go ahead and select the file. And upload a doc. There's documents that they want to send to the teachers that have private information about the children. They may actually send salary information. There's actually private data that they actually want to send. This document was encrypted. We can actually use any type of DRM or RMS type technology, encrypt a document. We can upload it to the cloud. It actually uploads now to the storage mechanism inside Windows Azure. And now, once it's available, I can actually assign it. And just so you guys know that Manage Docs is empty, Group Policy Templates is empty. So these are two empty folders. And because I don't have two machines that I'm going to switch back and forth, you're going to have to use your imagination and kind of guess that once I assign these two packages to myself, we'll get actually a group policy template and a secure document coming in. So let me do one more package here. And I'm going to do, let's call it Lockdown Ethiopia. And obviously we wouldn't call it that. Well, the teachers would never know. So this it's a GPO, and it's a group policy template. And I'll actually show you what a group policy template would look like as well. But let's go through this first. GPO templates. We have a technology that allows us to take a group policy object. I don't know if you know what that terminology is. It's anything that's Active Directory based has the ability to create a group policy object that you can apply to endpoints inside of AD. Group policy objects have up to 2,500 or more settings that allow you to control all the restrictions, all of the operating system, as well as all the configuration of all apps and third-party apps and so on, including Office. So let me actually go ahead and say, you know what? I want the HIPAA laptops. We actually have pre-configured group policy templates for different compliance. So I don't want to go too far into that, but let's go ahead and upload that as well. So now I've just done is uploaded a secure document and a group policy object into the cloud. And I'm going to associate both of those to the Ethiopian workstations group, which my laptop happens to be a member of in my private build. So we associated that, and let's associate this as well. And then I'm going to quickly if I can, switch over to the client log. Did I miss it, or did it already come down? Wow, that was fast. So here, it's actually going through. So the private teacher doc was already downloaded to my desktop. It'll actually go ahead and probably download the additional group policy object. There. So here we go. Client is registered. Teacher doc is downloading. Here's the private teacher doc. And the lockdown Ethiopia GPO got downloaded. And it got executed. So what I just did was I downloaded a document. I downloaded a group policy from a executable policy, and it actually executed as well. So what I'm going to do is, without anything up my sleeve, now there's files in here. It actually came down from the cloud. So what you saw here is, and I played dual role on this machine, is this document didn't exist. It was downloaded from the cloud, from the Windows Azure cloud environment, and now the teacher can actually open it and access their secure document. And they can also, they wouldn't actually be seeing this group policy object because I actually linked it to the hidden directory that we downloaded. But I displayed it to show that, one, we downloaded and executed this group policy object. I want to also show you what the group policy object did. All of our executable policies that we generate is self-reporting. So we can actually show what settings that actually apply to the machine. So if you look at this, we had a HIPAA compliance template that says, you know what? These are all the group policy objects settings that I want you to enforce. So password policy, lockdown policy, audit policy. So everything around compliance for that endpoint can actually be now posted to the cloud and distributed to any remote endpoint, including your local LAN-based laptops as well. So this actually, let me see if this gives you a good idea of, let me go back. So I'm not going to demonstrate the last part, which is the app V portion. I'm going to save that for our 3:30 session. We have a repeat of our Monday session at 3:30. That's a way to actually package an app V, post it to the cloud, and have it download and execute locally in a virtual environment. That's Policy Portal. I mean, that's one of the beauty of Windows Azure is the ability to take these .NET-based services and post it up in the cloud. One of the things that we're doing from a developer standpoint is we're opening up the API for this so that if you as a developer decide, hey, I want to get something down to the endpoint, I have a new neat app that I want to use the transport of Policy Portal in a secure manner. So we actually have integration with card space certificates and whatnot. So all the authentication, certificates, security is done for you. We already have endpoints that distribute out to potentially 250,000 endpoints in Ethiopia and obviously other corporate customers. If you say, hey, I have an app that I want to distribute, we actually have a web service-based API that we'll be publishing that allow you to take our Policy Portal environment in the cloud and actually post automatically from your app, your service, directly into Policy Portal and target it out to your customers that may actually be registered. So that's actually my 20 minutes of fame. I'm going to invite up Gent over here so he can give you the his company Ensoft demonstration on I think you have the services actually running in the cloud.
Yep. Simple services in the cloud. All right, hi everybody. My name is Gent Hito. I am the founder and CEO of Ensoftware. I don't have a video, so you are stuck watching me for the next 20 minutes, but I promise to try to make it interesting. Let me tell you a little bit about what we are trying to do, and that the best way to do that is by talking about the company a little bit. We have been providing infrastructure components for the past 15 years. Chances are that if you do email or credit card charging or transfer of files securely over the net, you are using some of our code, or maybe one of the people that work with you is using some of our code. We have more than 100,000 developers around the world that use our products. They've been using our products for the past 15 years. We have millions of end-user installations. A lot of them are mission-critical. Deployments on thousands of companies around the world. What we do is infrastructure components, and infrastructure components rely on APIs. We're really trying to sell you, or we are selling you, an API, a simple API to get to a service. And it's not that you can only do what we provide with our software. There's lots of other software out there that you can do the similar things to what we do or the same things that what we do in certain situations. However, by providing simple and easy interfaces for developers, we've been able to build a business for the past 15 years. And we're taking that same mentality, that same experience, and we're trying to transform that into the cloud and provide simple services based on the same principles. A little bit about the technology that we covered. This is just a reference slide. If you want any of this after, I'll be happy to give you the slides. So I'm not going to go over each one of them. What's interesting in what we provide, I think, is the footprint. We provide components for .NET, fully managed components for .NET. We provide components for Windows Mobile. We provide BizTalk adapters, SQL Server tasks, Windows workflow activities, PowerShell commandlets, if any of you here does PowerShell, SharePoint for the same workflow technology. And we also support legacy, COM, ActiveX, ASP, C, C++, Delphi, etc., as well as Java. This has been intentional. The more people that use our components, we believe that the more people that use our technologies, the better they become. The more people that are banging onto your code every day, the better they make it. And we're applying the same methodology to what we're doing with the services in the cloud. So we've been talking about putting some simple services up that provide the same types of technologies that we cover for years now. And it usually goes like this. You get a couple of business guys or sales guys that talk to a customer and they mention something about having a service here or a service there. So eventually you go to a bar and you start talking about it. And, alcohol and talk, and you say you can do this, you can do that. It looks easy. It looks simple. You start counting the money. And then you go back and wake up the next morning and you think about it and say, is it really doable? Can you really put services up? Is it really that easy? We are all developers. We write code. We like to go home at 5 o'clock. Now, actually running that code for someone else is something totally different. And I'll just go through some of the concerns. First of all, you need hardware. What kind of hardware do you put up? What is it going to run? How is it going to run it? What is it going to cost you? Is it going to be obsolete in a year or in 2 years or in 3 years? Then you have the issues of network management. You have to bring the pipes to make sure that everything is connected. And then you have to manage them. What is going to happen as people start hitting your services, as you need more and more bandwidth? You have security issues. There are people out there that are going to attack what you provide. What do you do with that? You have to monitor them. You have to monitor them around the clock because all of a sudden you're not giving people just a piece of software that they are installing in their environment. You are running something for them. And then there's issues of payment. There's issues of scaling. And all of these, what they boil down to is investment and cost. To do it on your own, you really have to commit to services. You have to believe that that's the business you are in, and you have to really commit to that. Now, there's one way to do it, is with hosting providers. But it looks like a simple solution. However, if you really think about it, it's not that simple. There are all kinds of providers out there. Some companies are big, some companies are small. They provide various levels of hardware, software management, various levels of security control, network management, etc. There's various levels of initial investment. How do you get in? What do you pay? What do you pay on a recurring basis? How do you scale? Suppose you are successful and you have a good problem. What do you do in that case? So most of the providers out there that have been around for the past 10 years, they provide various capabilities, but nobody really provides a massive grid with some exceptions. If you guys remember, a couple of years ago, Google App Engine, has it been a couple of years or is it just 1 year? Great idea, great design. There is a system where you're basically dealing with a big virtual machine up in the sky that's executing your code, and the data store on the back end with simple APIs. But it's Python. And, maybe there are people here that love Python, but I'm probably too old to remember to be involved in IronPython or Python or anything. And dealing with one particular language is concerning. It's scary in a sense. And you try to get more information and say, this is really what's this going to be? Is it all going to be Python? And people tell you yes. You don't hear much from Google, but from what they tell you, it's like, yeah, this is this environment. Write your code. It's a great language. It's a great environment. And put your services up. In our case, that means redoing everything we have done in Python, and it's completely out of the question. The other thing is the terms of service. And I can't comment on that because I'm not an attorney, but talk to your attorney about terms of services for any service provider out there. Now, the other one is the Amazon Elastic Cloud. Now, Amazon has some great services. If you look for examples of well-done, well-designed services out there, the stuff that you see on the Amazon grid is some of the best stuff out there. And it's a huge grid. It runs their grid every day, their processing engine, the Amazon pages you see, all the applications on it. And they really want to do this. If you listen to Amazon, they really see this as a business for the future. Now, the problem that we have with it is that what they provide you, essentially, is a place to put machines up in the sky. So you create a VM, you configure it, you put it up, and they run it for you. You tell it how many instances it's going to run, etc. Now, this sounds great, but you still have to remember that you have to manage that machine. You have to be in the 24/7 sysadmin business. Now, remember, we are software developers. We don't really want to get into this business. We want to provide you service. We want to provide code that runs for you, but we don't really need to get into the sysadmin, network admin business. Now, there is another issue if you are dealing with virtual machines. Scaling is coarse-grained. You scale by increasing the number of machines on the grid. Now, some people might say that's fine. It's not fine. You have to manage them. You have to manage all those machines one by one. They're completely independent. Now we come back to Windows Azure. Whoever picks those names, I don't know, but I hope I pronounced it right. The environment, though, is great. It's ASP.NET. It's something that we all know, we all work with. It's a tried and true environment. You can write code in multiple languages. You can leverage components and capabilities and code from other people. And the interfaces are very simple, things that we're used to, and simple interfaces to the back end, to storage, to other services on the back end. The pricing is utility pricing. That's what Microsoft tells us. It's very similar to what Amazon is doing, what Google is promising to do. You don't need a system administrator because really what you're doing is you're taking a package and you're putting it up in the cloud, and the machine, a big virtual machine, is essentially running it for you. All you have to concentrate on is your code, your capabilities, whatever you are providing to the customer. So as soon as we saw this, as soon as we learned about this back in May, we found an opportunity. It's the right type of environment with the right interfaces for a small company like us to get services up in the cloud. So again, just iterating some of the points that I mentioned in the last slide. It's ASP.NET. Now, there is a very interesting thing in there because every time you are having a party in somebody else's house, you are concerned. If you are storing something on the cloud, that's exactly what you are doing. The rules can change. They can change anytime. They can change based on business or service agreements, etc. What do you do if you have bet your business on this and the rules change? And the critical thing there, the critical question that you have to ask yourself is, can you take it and leave? Can you put it somewhere else? Now, the software plus services message that Microsoft is pushing gives me, at least on our end, makes us feel a lot more secure in the sense that if you don't like what they are providing in the cloud or how it's working or what they are charging for it, well, you can take the same software and deploy it somewhere else. And I'm sure that there are going to be other people that are going to provide the same capabilities on Microsoft software. Or of course, you can put up your own hardware and run it. So that was the case for finding the right place in the cloud to deploy our services. Now, what were we going to do next? You know, we have had components for many years, many developers using our components. The question was, what do we need to do to make them simple services on the cloud that people will prefer and like to use? And the questions are simple. You know, well, not simple, but the questions are straightforward. What do people want? What do they need? What makes a good service? I'm sure a lot of you ask yourselves the same questions as you write software for people on a daily basis. The main principles that we have are simplicity, ubiquity, and flexibility. Services have to be simple. They are just like a component. They are utility with a specific purpose. A service interface is not something where you show the latest pattern that you learned. It's not a place where you show the last architectural method that you learned. No one really cares about what the architecture is behind it. No one really cares about what types of objects you expose or how you expose them. What people really want is take that utility, find what your service is about, figure out quickly how to use it, and then be done with it. Your goal for success is really to make it reliable, simple, and to disappear. You know, we're successful when our people, the developers that use our components, are able to find their way around quickly on their own without having to call our support, and things continue to work so they don't have to call us in the middle of the night and say, hey, what's going on? Can you fix this? Now, quality and the number of people that use a particular piece of software of the service or a service are very interrelated to each other. The more people that use your software, the more people that use a particular service, the better it becomes. So we've been striving to find ways to increase the number of people that will use our services the same way that we deal with our software components, where we provide them for many platforms, many development environments, as many developers as possible. We want to do the same thing with our services, make them easy to access and easy to use, so that we can have a maximum number of people using them and therefore increase the quality of what we provide. And finally, services have to be flexible. You know, you don't have to teach people to call them from a particular environment or a particular language or a particular architecture. The burden is on you as a developer to provide interfaces that people understand, are familiar with, and use on a day-to-day basis. We've built our services on our really simple service bus engine, RSS Bus Simple Service Engine. It's a product that we've been working for several years. It's something that you can use to build services for Windows, Azure, or straight ASP.NET. We have an interesting architecture that we provide very simple interfaces. The input to all of our services is just a simple set of name-value pairs. The output is very similar to how we get the input, and we'll see that on the demo. What we have put on the cloud at this moment is just a sampling of the services so we can get feedback from people. We provide a number of feed services that deal with getting feeds from the internet and transforming them. File transfer services that will get files from remote FTP sites and into storage in Windows Azure. Email services, shipping services, directories, and some news services. So with that, I'll go to the demo. Can we switch to D? Oh, is it here? this is our homepage for the services. It's cloud.nsoftware.com. And what I'd like to show you is a simple call to a feed sorting service. I've already gotten the URL from Google News on a search for Azure. And we'll use a developer token, demo 123 for this demo. And we're going to sort by the title. So first let's get this feed and provide it back the same way as it came as RSS. You see the search hits. Now by just clicking a button, we can provide the same feed as an Atom feed, which is another feed reading format. If you want to call it over SOAP, here's how you generate WSDL. This WSDL was generated automatically based on the arguments that we have specified for the service. But if what you use is Excel, you can also call it directly from Excel. And when I click this button, what's going to happen is that a spreadsheet will be generated dynamically. Inside the spreadsheet, there is a call to external data services from Excel that dynamically calls this service and provides the feed data. So the usual prompt from IE. And here's that Excel spreadsheet that I talked about. And here's the data from that news feed. Really, the thing that's visible on Excel is really the title. Now, we don't have any real data services on the cloud. You can try that if you download our RSS bus engine from www.rssbus.com. But it's by the same mechanism that we got this news feed out of Google, we can get all kinds of data across the enterprise. Data from a SQL spreadsheet, data from a mail system, data from a document system, etc. Let's see. Is this on one? So that's the extent of my presentation. As next steps, if you'd like to talk to us, we're at booth 1110 down in the exhibit hall. Our cloud services are at cloud.nsoftware.com. You can sign up for a free developer token and explore and work with the services. Ask us about our RSS bus engine and how you deploy services with that. So thank you very much. And now it's open for questions.
First, I just want to say thank you very much to Danny Kim and Gent Hito. A nice round of applause for them. We've loved having you come and play on the new Windows Azure platform, and thanks for sharing what you've done. We are happy to take some questions and answers now. I'm supposed to remind you that the recordings will be online at microsoftpdc.com, and you should also please fill out evals there so that we know what you liked and what you didn't like. And so if you have questions, please step up to a mic, and we're going to get unplugged so the next folks can get set up while we're doing the Q&A. So fire away.
Hey. Thanks for the presentation. It was very informative. I've got a general question to Microsoft, really, about cloud computing and the service offerings for partners. How much support will you provide on this in terms of white papers, etc.? Because if we're going to go into a business, we want to understand what the opportunities are for the cloud computing, because obviously some businesses won't want to put everything into the cloud. We need guidance on how to direct them.
Yeah, there will be quite a lot of that. We don't have very much yet at this very early, the CTP phase. But by the time you see us with general commercial availability, sometime probably second half of next year, we'll have a lot. We'll have a lot of guidance. One of the things we're very keen to learn is what do we need to provide, especially to enterprises, to help them understand where does it make sense to go to the cloud, where does it not, and what does the migration path look like. So that's something we're definitely looking into, and we'd love contributions from other people too in that space. So.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
So as you mentioned, You scale Amazon EC2 by adding more computing nodes or virtual machines. In what units do you scale Azure right now? How do you add more capacity? And do you just add compute capacity, or can you add more memory or I/O? How granular is this?
So in the general case, all of those things are possible in Windows Azure. In the CTP case of what we have now, you can go to the portal and just request more instances. And each instance is basically a compute unit. It's the equivalent of, I think, about a 1.6 gigahertz computer, something like that. And you can scale at that granularity. So basically, you can get more of that specific size of things. And it's virtualization underneath, so it's going to be a virtualized instance like that. Over time, we want to allow different types of that, different sizes. Things like maybe I know that I'm very memory intensive, but not very much CPU, or maybe a lot of CPU and a little network, but not much RAM required, and things like that. Those are all possible the way we've built the platform. We don't know yet exactly what we're going to expose. Any questions for these guys?
Yeah, probably they can answer this. Chris Anderson this morning on the keynote, he mentioned that for now at least, only partially trusted code can be run on these servers. Is that going to remain like that for so long? For how long, or is it ever going to change?
That is definitely going to change. That's a CTP restriction only. We're going to do native code actually also. So we're going to do expand sort of the trust bubble that we allow within managed code, and also support native code in 2009. Yeah.
You mentioned asking for more or provisioning more units in different ways. What is the licensing structure for those? How this thing is going to be licensed?
If that's is that a pricing business model kind of question, or is it a?
Well, since this is for partners, then yes, to a degree, the answer is yes.
Yeah. So the answer is we don't know yet. There's a lot of thought actually already, of course, about what the business model, what the pricing model is, but we're not ready to really disclose anything yet, and it's not all been finalized. Okay.
So about licensing too, like if you're a component vendor and you license your software today based on the servers on which these things are running, is there anything you thought about how are we going to license now?
How's licensing? I'm going to give the same non-answer, which is that we'll tell you more as those things get settled down. Yeah.
Can you say that it's actually going to be competitive pricing, or can you not even mention that? As a partner, we assume that it's going to be at least competitive.
Well, I can take that question to the other side, and that is for people who are selling code that customers, that the clients might be willing to put in the cloud, how are they going to manage the license for their stuff when their clients are running on the cloud?
That's a good question.
So it's a lot of different issues.
It's a slightly different skew than what you were saying, but yeah, I'm still not going to comment much on those things. But certainly, I guess it's just my general thought on this is that this type of cloud computing platform actually opens up a lot, not just in terms of technology, but also in terms of business, licensing, different models of how software is sold, how services are sold, how subscriptions work, things like that. All of that is stuff we like to think about and we like to talk about. I don't know yet which places we're going in, which we're not, what any of those things will look like. Expect to hear more of that in the coming year.
Sorry, one more question. Cloud computing at the moment reminds me of the 80s, where drivers weren't compatible with each other, etc. Is there any kind of forum where Google and Microsoft and Amazon are getting together and actually having a standard, an open standard, where customers can choose their vendor and easily switch between each other in an open way?
Our intention is to have an open and interoperable platform. So for us, we build everything on top of REST and on top of XML, and where possible on top of existing standards. that are already out there, right? We encourage everyone else to do that. We'd love to move towards that vision of these things really interoperate well. To us, that's a really great thing. Yeah.
Well, the other thing to add on to that is because these are web services, it doesn't matter if you have another web service running on EC2, you can call it, and it would actually be a seamless call. So we've actually had customers looking at doing some private data storage within their own data center, but then using the large scalable storage within Windows Azure as well.
So will I be able to host my applications with a company like Rackspace? Will you be able to license Azure to them as a hoster, or will I be able to build my own cloud if I choose to?
Windows Azure is running in Microsoft data centers only.
Is that a long-term plan, or?
Windows Azure is running in Microsoft data centers only.
Good hand.
That is, I mean, there is no plan currently to go into those other spaces. I don't want to mislead and say, oh, there's some thinking, whatever. That is really the answer, is that we're not doing it now. There's no plan for us to go license this to other people to run or to allow people to run it in their own data centers. Mostly what we would like to see is a lot of the technology that's in Windows Azure make it into those server products. And that's a great place for people to run this stuff on their own, or for other partners to run similar things.
Can I make a comment on that?
Sure.
From our experience, what we found out is that it's truly just ASP.NET 3.5. And if you disregard the data side, where you have some custom interfaces which you can virtualize if you want to, it's really just ASP.NET, and if you want to take that code and move it somewhere, you really can. So that's our experience, not speaking for Microsoft or anybody, of course.
All right, I think we should clear out of here and let these guys get set up for the next session. Thank you everyone for coming, and thanks for your questions.